All right, man. So y'all see the title of the video. I normally don't do stuff like this as far as like, you know, is going negative at Michael Jordan, right? But we can always go negative at LeBron. So today I'm just going to put some context to certain things and show how you can always go negative at people. It's a very easy thing to do, and it never really is going to solve the GOAT debate because GOAT is about greatness, not what you didn't do, not you took a shot here and you missed, and this the percentage you shot. You should have shot better. Like we can nitpick. But I'm gonna start off with a video with Chris Broussard, right?
I gotta say this. Wait. Because I don't, hold on, I'll rebut it after a while. This should not, and I said this yesterday on Undisputed, this should not define LeBron's career any more than Magic Johnson's tragic Johnson moment in '84 defines his career. It doesn't. But however, when you are debating the GOAT, you nitpick, and this is a nit to pick.
That's right.
Michael Jordan, unlike anyone else, never had a meltdown moment on the big stage. We never saw the stage being too big for.
Okay, well, first of all, we want to start off with this fact. The meltdown moments, he said on the big stage. So what he's saying is in the finals, right? So he has to preface on the big stage because it's Jordan went undefeated in the finals. But that is okay. Let's give some context here. The whole term about melting down and athletes making mistakes and choking. Jordan's choked before. If we really want to nitpick everything that LeBron does or every other player does, right? Not playing up to their standards. Everybody else can be labeled a choker. Everybody else their moments can be broadcast. And, if you're the GOAT, you can't do this. Okay. Well, I'm here to say that Jordan, if we want to do that, we could do that with Jordan too. And technically, he wouldn't be able to be the GOAT either. So let's just keep going.
For Jordan. Magic, we saw it. Bird had 2 8-point games in his first finals and a 12-point game. We've seen it with other players. And we saw it, Nick. You can't run from it. With LeBron in 2011.
I'm not running from it.
No
one denies that.
He learned from it. Fine. He became better. But it is an issue in the GOAT debate. And Michael Jordan
I got it.
When Michael Jordan lost those games you mentioned, he balled out.
Okay, so even if he did, Jordan is the only player that he gets a pass for playing well and losing to the better team, because y'all still say 6 finals losses, even though LeBron played well in the majority of his losses, right? He played well in the majority of them, but this losses still count against him. So Jordan, I guess, is the only one whose losses don't count against him if he plays well. I also want to say that is a complete and total lie. He balled out in every game or in every series. It's a lie. And I'm going to show how it's a lie. And this is what they're not going to show you. So, okay. Now, if you just take a look, if it'll come up. Hold on. If it'll come up, damn. It's not working. God damn. All right, hold on real quick. I'm going to try to get this to work. I need 1 second. All right, there we go. So if you look here, This is versus the Pistons in 1989. They held him to 13 shots in Game 4. And then in Game 5, they held him to 8 shots. Right? 13 shots, 8 shots. But it goes a little deeper than that. I mean, I wouldn't call that showing up. The great Michael Jordan, I mean, he always balls out, right? It said, look at this. How far removed was Jordan? In a 30-minute, 52-second span, ranging from late in the first quarter to midway through the fourth, Jordan scored 3 points. 3. So from the first through midway through the fourth, he scored 3 points. Is that balling out? Is that the GOAT Michael Jordan who never chokes it in the clutch? He never got his shot blocked. He always shows up. He always balls out. That doesn't sound like showing up to me. Okay. And you can read it. I'm keeping it on the screen for a little bit. So you can just read it. See, so you can't say I'm making this up. But let's go to the next slide. Jordan went scoreless in a span of 20 minutes during the second and third periods and didn't record his first and only dunk until the 4:17 mark of the fourth quarter. So this is the great Jordan. This is in 1989 versus the Pistons. He said Jordan always balled out. I mean, this doesn't sound like balling out to me. This doesn't sound like balling out to me. But let's keep going. That's 3 for 10 in the first half, 2 for 5 in the second half. Now, I want to read this. For a long passage of time, it was easy to forget Jordan was even in Wednesday's game. He seemed almost in a sleepwalk, Detroit TV commentator Dick Moda said, taking only 4 shots per half. Was anything wrong? No, Jordan said. I just never felt I had the situation where I could take over the game and do what you all thought I was going to do. But Jordan never choked. He always, he was it's a lie. We can nitpick everyone, including Jordan. So when you talk about 2011 and all the flaws in LeBron's career, well, there's proof that Jordan was doing some of the same stuff. But let's just keep going, right? Michael certainly couldn't have been worn out from shooting in the fourth quarter. He took 1 shot. 1 shot in the fourth. This is 1989. When the Bulls were still in the game down the stretch, when a 3-2 series edge was there for the taking, Michael Jordan took 1 shot. 1 stinking shot. It was foolhardy enough to envision the Bulls getting any less than the 15 shots he took in Game 4. But 4 for 8 from the field with 1 shot in the fourth quarter, something is up. I mean, what do we call this? This don't count against Jordan, but 2011 and 6 finals losses, and with Magic is tragic, and with Bird he had an 8-point game in the finals. Oh, but this doesn't count for Michael Jordan. This doesn't count. I mean, what do we do with this? Do we just overlook it because it's him and then pretend like he never got dunked on or shot blocked or he never missed a clutch shot or he always performed? Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. Hold on. He was mortal Friday, exhausted, which I guess athletes, according to Skip Bayless, aren't allowed to get exhausted. And on wobbly leg, exhausted, he found himself at the free throw line with the Bulls behind 94-84 with 4:23 left. And on wobbly legs and fatigued arms, he claimed both free throws harmlessly off the rim. Okay. Michael Jordan kept one of the most incredible individual postseason runs in his in history with 32 points, but scored only one field goal in the final 11 minutes and 12 seconds. The Pistons did it on the fourth quarter push from Isaiah Thomas, who scored 17 crucial points in the final frame and finished with 33. But Jordan went scoreless with only one field goal in the final 11 minutes and 12 seconds. In Game 4, Jordan managed 2 field goals in the last 41 minutes. 2. In Game 5, caught in a thicket of double and triple teams, Jordan took 8 shots all night. 8. Now they say, oh, double and triple teams, what was he supposed to do? Okay, I got something for that, but we'll discuss that later. In Game 6, Jordan hit 5 of his first 7 shots, but only 8 of his last 19. He scored a mere 2 points in the last 11 minutes and 11 seconds, while Isaiah Thomas poured in 17 for Detroit in the same time frame. So it sounds like he couldn't stop Isaiah Thomas from taking over the game and hitting the clutch buckets over him. But he's Michael Jordan. He's supposed to take over. What happened? 2 field goals in 41 minutes, 8 shots, scoreless for the last 11 minutes, 8 for 19. I thought this was the great Michael Jordan. He never choked. He never missed a shot. What happened to that? So in 1989, Game 4, Jordan scored 23 points on 33% shooting. He had the worst shooting percentage out of every Bulls starter. He had 2 field goals in 41 minutes and went scoreless for 20 minutes. Game 4 was winnable. Detroit shot 36% from the field, didn't score on 7 of the last 11 possessions, scored 10 points in the first 9 minutes of the second quarter, missed 15 free throw attempts, shooting 31 to 46 from the line, and was only up in the fourth quarter by 4 points. The Bulls only lose by 6. So 23 points on 33% shooting, 2 field goals in 41 minutes, scoreless for 20 minutes. This doesn't sound like the GOAT to me, but let's keep going. In 1989, Game 5, Jordan only took 8 shots in a full 46-minute game. 8 full shots. Now, people talk about LeBron scoring 8 points in Game 5 of the 2011 Finals. How about 8 shots? Does that sound like the GOAT to you? 8 shots? 1 shot in the fourth quarter? 8 shots in 46 minutes. 1 shot in the fourth quarter. 4 turnovers. He was outscored by Craig Hodges. Hodges also shot a better percentage from the field. He was outscored by Mark Aguirre and bench player on the Pistons, Benny Johnson, who played only half the minutes Jordan played, which Jordan played 46 minutes. Benny Johnson played 23. And Jordan only took 1 shot in the fourth playing against the reserves. Isaiah Thomas and Mark Aguirre only played 1 minute in the fourth. 1 minute. And Bill Laimbeer was already on the bench. Game 5 was a winnable game as well. The Bulls led by 4 at halftime. They entered the fourth only down by 1 point. The Bulls only lost by 9, where Jordan took 8 shots in 46 minutes and 1 shot in the fourth with a chance to go up 3-2. So, what happened to the great Michael Jordan? What happened? We can keep going. Game 6. Now, 32 points and 13 assists sounds good, but he took 26 shots to get 32 points. And 13 assists sounds good, but he had 8 turnovers. He went 5 of 12 from the free throw line, with, he's a 84% free throw shooter for his career, but he went 41% from the free throw line. The Bulls were only down 81. They were down 2. 81-79 early in the fourth. Then Jordan had the ball stolen from him, and that was it for the rest of the game. He scored 1 field goal in the last 11 minutes and 12 seconds. Isaiah Thomas in the same time frame scored 17 points in the fourth and finished with 33 points. The Bulls only lost by 9. So this is not the perfect Jordan that we're used to. Does this so according to Chris Broussard, none of this count. Now he said in the big stage, which is the finals, but if you choke or you don't show up before the finals, How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there taking 8 shots when your team got a chance to take a 3-2 lead? How you going to get there shooting 1 shot in the fourth quarter? Now, there is context to this, of course. A lot of people say the Pistons first of all, people say he was exhausted. He was mortal. He was exhausted, right? Then they say he was double and triple team. What was he supposed to do? Okay. So the first 3 games, Jordan played well. Jordan scored 46 points in Game 3, and Daly's players begged for the resumption of the Jordan rules. So this is the context for why he dropped off. And then this is what Jordan said. He thought that the Pistons were a bit lackadaisical the first 3 games. Guess they decided to go back to what they used to do. So it was the defensive strategy of the Pistons, and they say fatigue, right? That could be the answer for why he's performing this way, taking 1 shot, going scoreless for 41 minutes. Going scoreless for 20 minutes and scoring 2 field goals in 41 minutes, right? People say it's fatigue. It's the rules. It's the defensive rules and the game plan. Well, I could say the same thing about LeBron in 2011. Let's look at it.
Didn't do in every
so we get no credit for not putting him in a position to succeed, right? We played the Heat.
He put himself in. All he did was stand out on the perimeter.
Now, how do you think we defended that? Why do you think he was standing out there?
You didn't have to defend it.
Oh, right. So no matter what we did, he was just going to stand there and do nothing.
Well, that's all I saw. That was a lot of it.
That's exactly right, Chip.
And hope
that's
that
all
Dwayne
you
Wade
saw.
Saved the day for him.
You're exactly right. That's all you saw. You didn't look, right? And that's a complete insult to us to say, you know what, the adjustments that we made.
What did you do to force him out there?
We had like 6, 7 different types of matchups in our zone, right?
Okay, he said 6 or 7 different matchups in their zone. First of all, zone wasn't even legal in the 80s. So Jordan was shooting them bad shots and getting triple teamed, but he wasn't even doing it against zone. So that's to say, if he was playing against zone defense, his performances might have been even worse. But let's keep going.
And we played man-to-man, and we had a variety of different switches, right? So we knew that 90% of his shots were going to come from the left-hand side, right? We knew that if you gave him room from the left, he was going to drive. Now, we didn't have the athletes that Oklahoma City did, so we had to plan differently.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that we pushed him out away, and then we gave him different looks every time he had the ball, because just forcing him to make a decision, right? To think about what he had to do, taking the time to read. Are we in a zone? What type of zone we're in? How are we matching up? What type of rotations are we in? Making him think made them pass the ball around the perimeter, which gave us a chance to adjust, right? Now, they're smarter. They're a better team this year. They deserve to win this year. But, that's the way we played it. And so it wasn't just LeBron. LeBron actually played it right more often than not. He made the right pass to the right guy who didn't make the right play. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted to get the ball out of their hands and into the hands of somebody else. We wanted him to play Michael Jordan and make somebody play Steve Kerr. Now, last night, Mike Miller.
They had several Steve Kerrs.
They had everybody stepping up, and they deserved every bit. But you're talking generalities, and just to say you are.
Okay, you spewed out some generality about the players don't care. Okay, let me tell you that for a fact, and Stephen A. can validate this. LeBron James listened to what I said for about 8 years? Because that's all I heard. He said I was his Howard Cosell. And this year, for the first time, to his credit, he tuned out all the noise. That's all we saw in the finals was he's reading the Hunger Games trilogy before the games. He's meditating on the bench before the games. He tuned us out.
This is a Skip Bayless special. LeBron lost last year because he was paying attention to Skip Bayless. LeBron
No,
won
that's
this
not
year
true.
because he wasn't. That's
No.
what you just said.
Okay.
Did he not just say that?
Okay, here's what he didn't do. Here's what he didn't do against you guys.
Okay.
He let you off the hook because he didn't do what we saw him do for 4 straight games. He didn't drive through your zone and slash it up and dish. He didn't post up at all. This was a new deal. This was a new post up game that we saw this year from LeBron. He shredded the Oklahoma City defense because he drove and he dished.
Okay,
He
how-
did
what
not
kind of
drive.
defense? When he was
wanted to be
driving-
a pretty jump shooter against you guys, and it played right into your hands because he's a below average jump shooter from the perimeter.
Okay, Skip. So when he was on the post, what were the different defensive schemes that Oklahoma City ran last night?
They used Cephalosha
And look at this. He don't even know the answer, but let's keep going.
on him. They used Durant on him.
When he was in the post, what
and-
were the different defensive schemes that
And
they used?
Ibaka was supposed to come hard
He was
and keep him
supposed to
from
come
the
hard,
and
right?
he did not come hard. He let LeBron get to the rim repeatedly, and Perkins was nowhere
I
to
just
be
asked a
seen.
simple question.
Yeah, I just told you.
No, you said
gave you a
so and so was
simple
supposed to. No, they doubled from down, right? And they doubled and they passed and they hit their open shots, right? When they kept on doubling, they changed, right? Because they passed it out. Mike Miller hit open shot, but that's just one
Did
example.
he
Then
get
what
in
did
the
they do
lane
after
against
that?
you guys last year? Not at all in the
Why
fourth
now?
quarter.
Why do you play a zone, Skip?
Well, again, I've seen him.
He don't even know why you play zone defense, man. And it's the same dude that keep talking about the 2011 finals. And okay, but let's keep going.
Slash up any kind of defense when he feels like it.
Skip, one
He's
of the
a
things
freight
about-
train. You just said you don't have the athletes that they have.
Right, and that's why we play more zone than possibly Oklahoma City did, because we had smarter players who are not necessarily as athletic.
So the point in that is, I could go back. Hold on.
He was going to drive. Now, we didn't have the athletes that Oklahoma City did, so we had to plan differently.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that we pushed him out away, and then we gave him different looks every time he had the ball, because just forcing him to make a decision, right, to think about what he had to do, taking the time to read. Are we in a zone? What type of zone we're in? How are we matching up?
Now notice Jordan never played against zone in his prime days, or in the 80s and 90s. He did on the Wizards, but the point is, okay, zone. You gotta think about certain things when you're in the zone. Defensive schemes.
What type of rotations are we in? Making him think made them pass the ball around the perimeter, which gave us a chance to adjust, right? Now, they're smarter. They're a better team this year. They deserve to win this year. But, that's the way we played it. And so it wasn't just LeBron. LeBron actually played it right more often than not. He made the right pass to the right guy who didn't make the right play. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted to get the ball out of their hands and into the hands of somebody else. We wanted him to play Michael Jordan and make somebody play Steve Kerr. Now,
Notice he said he made the right pass to the right guy who didn't make the right play. My bad, y'all. But the point I was making is that Mark Cuban said that LeBron made the right pass to the right guys who didn't make the right play. But he was, forced in a defensive scheme, a certain scheme. Like when they talk about the 2011 finals, they don't credit the Mavs' defensive schemes, right? But I'm gonna show a little more. 1 second. Okay. So this is just articles talking about LeBron James and the minutes he played in the 2011 postseason. Says James has to be so tired, so very tired. James is being asked to log more playoff minutes than anyone ever. James is playing longer minutes than anyone on either team. He is averaging 44 minutes a game during the finals, making fatigue a possible factor. Okay, so what this is and what this shows. Hold on. This is just showing the amount of minutes he played. So he played 23 games in 2011. He didn't get rest in the second half in 14 out of those 23 games, which you can see in season periods from 1997 to 2023 in the playoffs in the second half. 14 of those. He was required to play heavy minutes because of the Miami Heat's lack of depth. Every player on Miami's roster outside of LeBron, Wade, and Bosh had a negative box plus minus in the NBA Finals. Over half the games he played in the playoffs, he didn't get rest in the second half. And that's the same amount of times he played the entire second half without rest from 2015 to 2018 in the playoffs. In other words, in 2011, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. And from 2015 to 2018, 3 years worth of playoff games, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. He had 3 years worth of games without rest in one playoff run. And after 2011, he never played that many games or minutes without rest ever again. He never did it before 2011 either. He played 7 45-minute games in his last 10 playoff games, the entire second half, and 14 of 23 playoff games. In his last 15 games, he missed a total of 6 second half minutes. 6. Nobody has done that before since 1984. Jordan played a total of 17 45-minute games. LeBron played 7 in 22 days and played 3 in a row. The first time Jordan played back-to-back 45 minutes games, he didn't have a single field goal in the last 22 minutes in 1993 Game 6 versus the Knicks. His 14 games without rest is the most over the 27 years the data exists. He played 8 of his last 10 games without second half rest. Four players played more 45 or more minute games, but the second half is the differentiator. Shaq played the second half without rest 4 times. LeBron did it 3 times. Iverson did it 3 times. LeBron did it 8 times. If a player is not getting proper rest, that player will wear down in the fourth quarter. So the point I'm making is, the point I'm trying to make is this. A lot of people will say, that, okay, well, the reason why Jordan played the way he played is because what? Fatigue. He played that way because of fatigue. And because of the defensive schemes of the Pistons, which he said the first 3 games they weren't really playing them the way they normally play them. And then after that, his performance dropped off dramatically. And then fatigue. He was exhausted, right? This is what if you wanted to defend that, which back then, that's what it was. He was playing heavy minutes, and he was fatigued, and the Pistons rules. defensive schemes. But I just showed the same thing for LeBron. What did Mark Cuban say? LeBron, he was talking about the zone that they ran, and then I'm gonna also show this.
Wow.
He didn't have
2011 when you were the Dallas Mavericks. Y'all beat LeBron and the Miami Heat. That was his first run of this 7-8 years straight. That was the first time. That's viewed as the low point of his career, you know, and
Wow.
when he kind of was melting down.
Yeah.
So they're up 2-1. When did you first recognize something's wrong with LeBron James?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is not the LeBron James.
Well, if that was a low point in his career, it was definitely low in mine because we're down 2-1. I hadn't performed the way I thought I should have been performing.
Okay.
He was guarding me, and all I'm hearing at practice is Dirk, because Dirk had no sugarcoat. I mean, if he came in, the bums ain't doing what they got to do.
Really?
That's why we ain't winning. Oh, what?
Well, Dirk was like that.
Dirk was cold. Now, he wouldn't, in the media, he kind of stayed away
Yeah.
from it, but he would let you know straight up, man, you're not doing it, bro.
And he would say the bums.
The bums, the burgers, it was no filter. And so you're looking like, man, all right. And my locker was always next to his. So, I mean, he was on me. It was 2-1. And he knew, like, if we were ever going to win a championship, this was the time to do it. Jet, you ain't showing up. We need you. Right. And then so the media caught wind of it. And they're like, yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on? I said, well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
And I'm just let you know, like, honestly, he can't. Because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our game plan, then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably was game 5. So it was 2-1. We win game 4. But game 5, it was a point in the 4th quarter. They called timeout. We had just went on a run. LeBron had his back to the stanchion. Everybody else had walked to the bench, but he was still out there. And I kind of looked back, and he had his chin in his chest, and he was just doing this, and he was deep breath. And I looked, and I kind of smiled. Like, yeah, he's wore out.
Wow.
He didn't have no more left.
So when people talk about the 2011 finals, they don't, it's just he choked in no context. But you ask the players that was there, okay. It was the fatigue, it was the defensive schemes and the game plan. It's more to basketball than just, he choked. But let's keep going.
And it was because we had multiple defenders. We were picking him up full court. We weren't letting him get to his isolation.
See, defensive game plan, zone, but Jordan didn't even play against zone.
Game. We're making him shoot jump shots. If he drove it and he had a clear path, we were wrapping him up. Yeah. And, give credit to Deshaun Stevenson, Sean Marion, even Jason Kidd was guarding. And then we had a zone defense. Dwayne Casey takes a lot of credit.
Yep.
And he's rightfully so because he deserves it. And LeBron gave him some love.
Yep.
He said, I developed my outside perimeter game because of your defensive strategy in that series. And so that was it. Game 5, I seen it in his eyes.
So to you, it was more of a physical, he just got worn down. Yeah. Most people look at it as mentally he wasn't.
Physically. He got worn down physically, which affected him mentally.
Physically, yes, but mentally, definitely what I seen in his eyes. Yes, that it was mental at that point. Like, we were up 1-0. We even in game 2.
He said it was mentally at that point in his eyes because he was wore out. So what I'm saying is bad performances are often more than just, he just choked, he just played bad. Guys get fatigued. The defensive schemes of the opposing team can also affect it. But, most people don't even know basketball enough to know these things. And I like to point out, Jordan never played against zone in his prime. So a lot of this stuff, if Jordan was having bad performances, well, he wasn't playing against as difficult defenses.
We were up 10, 12 points in the last 3 minutes, and they came back and beat us. Then we win on their court. that's a breaking point in a series. To win that first game on the opposing team's court on the road, that's like a breaking point. But we come back and answer the bell and we beat them in game 4. Damn, they ain't gonna go away. And then game 5, they have fought as hard as they could, and I hit the shot over him. It's probably in my career to this day. If you want to say LeBron's defining moment was the block he had on Golden State, mine was the hesitation pull up on the right wing in Dallas to kind of put us up 4 and propel us to victory in game 5. That was my defining moment. And then to see his reaction after that shot, he was like, man, they ain't going away. Even though we're going home, because remember the series is 2-3-2. And so we had to go there for 2 games. You would think like mentally, damn, we got 2 at home. We cool.
Yeah.
But
you could see
it. They weren't cool. And they knew we were going to give them everything we had in game 6 because we did not want it to go to 7.
Now, I heard from one of your teammates, ex-teammates, that
he takes a lot of credit.
Yep.
And he's rightfully so because he deserves it. And LeBron gave him some love.
Yep.
Then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably because Dirk had no shot. And he knew, like, if we were ever going to win a championship, this was the time to do it. Jet, he can't keep up with me for 7 games. And so the media caught wind of it. And they're like, yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on? I said, well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
And I'm just let you know, like, honestly, he can't. Because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our game plan, then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably was game 5. So it was 2-1. We win game 4. But game 5, it was a point in the 4th quarter. They called timeout. We had just went on the run. LeBron had his back to the stanchion. Everybody else had walked to the bench, but he was still out there. And I kind of looked back, and he had his chin in his chest, and he was just doing this, and he was deep breath. And I looked, and I kind of smiled. Like, yeah, he's wore out.
Wow.
He didn't have no more left. And it was because we had multiple defenders. We were picking him up full court. We weren't letting him get to his isolation game. We're making him shoot jump shots. If he drove it and he had a clear path, we were wrapping him up.
Yeah.
And, give credit to Deshaun Stevenson, Sean Marion, even Jason Kidd was guarding. And then we had a zone defense. Dwayne Casey takes a lot of credit.
Yep.
And he's rightfully so because he deserves it. And LeBron gave him some love.
Yep.
He said, I developed my outside perimeter game because of your defensive strategy in that series. And so that was it. Game 5, I seen it in his eyes.
So to you, it was more of a physical, he just got worn down.
Yeah.
Most people look at it as mentally he wasn't.
Well, physically, yes, but mentally, definitely what I seen in his eyes. Yes, that it was mental at that point. Like, we were up 1.
Yeah. So it was a physical exhaustion that took place from playing heavy minutes in the zone defense that caused 2011. So that's context, right? That's the context. Of why that happened. So I gave context for both. I don't just, give one for one. But I was just showing he was mortal Friday, exhausted. And then you talk about the defensive schemes that caused Jordan to perform in this way. 8 shots and 1 shot in the 4th. Only 4 shots per half. He looked like he was in a sleepwalk. Scoreless for 20 minutes. These kind of things. So it was fatigue in the defensive game plan. Like I just showed LeBron for 2011. But you talk about melting down, and it's different factors that cause these things. It's not, but like I said, people don't know ball. They don't know the reasons why things happen the way they do. But either way, the point is, if we're going to use Chris Broussard's logic, then Jordan can't be the GOAT, because at the end of the day, he didn't have every moment perfect. He said on the big stage it was a meltdown. Well, what about before the big stage? He said he always balled out. This ain't balling out.
Jordan held to 5 of 15 from the floor, just 23 points, only 11 in the last 3 quarters. Isaiah had 27 points, but credit Detroit's rebounding, and that man, Dennis Rodman, 8 offensive rebounds, a playoff career high of 18, and the Pistons had a plus 16 rebound margin. You can make up for bad shooting when you out-rebound the opposition like that.
Now, Detroit Pistons. It's a 20-second timeout for Detroit. That's an amazing statistic. Time after time, he's tried to give him the three-point basket, especially late, but he has not aggressively sought the shot.
It is amazing. I mean, we want to credit the Detroit Pistons defense some, but at the same time, Jordan appears to have been very concerned about making sure that his teammates got involved in the game and has not been looking at the hoop. The last time he did not feel well, he had a little case of the flu and wasn't scoring the ball, but at least he was looking to shoot it. This time when he's having an off-ball game, he just has not put the ball in the air.
6 seconds.
Toss it over, and he knows that at least he's going to get a chance to get the ball in the air, and he's thinking three-point play as he pushes it up. The crowd got a chance to look at it on the replay inside. The reaction is the same all over again, but Jordan gets the free throw. Whenever you see Vinnie Johnson start to work like he did the last time down, he's thinking of one thing. That's putting the ball in the air. Jordan did a good job of making him take a tough try.
And he misses a free throw. He's 10 of 11 on the night. 72-70 with 9:30 left regulation. Dumars into the lane on the run. High arc, banged it up too hard. Rebound. Deflects out to Corzine. Vincent with it. Almost over and back. Michael Jordan with it. Scottie Pippen handles the ball against Rodman. A 2-point.
Now, mind you, this is a playoff game.
Try an air ball for Jordan. And a foul.
Defense, and like Dennis Rodman says at this time, we got to get a stop. That's his theme. Jordan, inside, foul. Both teams in the penalty. Brad Sellers with a big contribution of 16 points. Right now on the bench. Bill Laimbeer picks up the fourth, and Jordan will shoot a pair. At this juncture, Dick, if Michael can knock in both of these shots, you're only down 8. You have over 4 minutes to play. But your defense must get a little tougher now.
Michael Jordan is 5 for 11 from the line. And the Chicago Bulls are having their worst free throw shooting game of the series. It couldn't come at a worse time for them.
Well, you can see, the anguish on Doug Collins' face. He feels every one in his stomach.
Look at that. Choking at the free throw line in the playoff series. Now, what's the point of this? The point is no player is perfect, but Jordan is presented as perfect. You know, if we could nitpick LeBron, why can't we nitpick Jordan? I mean, he doing some of the same stuff that y'all criticize him for. And then there's one more thing I wanted to show. One more thing. They want to talk about, LeBron getting beat 14 straight versus the Nuggets. How about the Celtics beat the Bulls for 16 straight games? In game 3, Jordan quit and the Celtics complete the sweep in the first round. He scored 19 on 18 shots and was outscored by Danny Ainge, his teammate Dave Corsin, and John Paxson. Now, what we should look at is the Celtics' strategy the first 2 games. If I could find it. So the first 2 games, the satisfaction isn't holding Michael Jordan to 25 points and losing the game. It's him scoring 50 and we win by 10 or 15. Bird said, we like one guy to shoot the majority of the shots. Kevin, this is before game 3. He said the Boston Celtics wouldn't sit still for another night of Michael Jordan's magic show. The Celtics double-teamed Jordan, who quickly fell deep into foul trouble and scored only 5 points in the last 3 quarters. In game 3, Jordan recognized DJ's defense. You get to see a guy enough, you start adjusting to him. Jordan said, I couldn't really do what I wanted to do, and he had a good team help. This was a different defense, different from what I'd seen the whole series, and this was in game 3. So you notice how we went from 49 and 63 to 19 points? It's because in game 3, they decided to actually double team him. They weren't doubling him. They weren't even picking him up full court. The game plan was just let him do what he wanted. So that's why he had 49 and 63 points. LeBron ain't never walked into a series where the opposing team was just like, do what you want to do. And he was playing against zone, which consistently has been double or triple team. He wasn't even playing against zone in game 3. So for the 19 points on 18 shots, he was playing against less difficult defense. So if he was playing against zone, it would have been worse. But there's more. There's a little more. Last year, our plan was to just let him play. And that's not the way we should play him. We had a lot more success in the third game when we double teamed. Okay, this is in game 1, I believe, versus the 1987 Celtics. The Bulls had a chance, trailing by 2 and taking a timeout after Parrish's net move. Michael Jordan brought the ball up, picking up his dribble on the left side where it was deflected by Larry Bird. No harm done. There, Jordan stood like Stonehenge until, with maybe 11 seconds remaining, he jumped up, was caught with no shot, and tried to dump off to teammate Brad Sellers, coming around off the baseline. Literally, Sellers was technically out of bounds for the game, losing turnover. Oops. Michael Jordan makes a big mistake. To lose a playoff game through stupidity rather than through incompetence is progress of for the Bulls. Those daring innocents from Chicago who set them are close enough to the Celtics to make dumbness mean anything. They should have lost the game by a dozen. They were down by 19 at the half. They scraped and hustled and refused to surrender. They tied the game 3 times in the last 2 minutes, and my bad. And that's why the end was so wasteful. First of all, Jordan should have shot the ball. That is why he is Michael Jordan. He is not paid nor prompted to pass off at the end. Okay. In the last 4 minutes, Jordan shot the ball 3 times. He scored 0 points. At the most critical point in that stretch, his team was outscored 10-4. They were waiting for their guy to make it all happen. And while they did, the Celtics marched off with a 105-96 win and a 2-0 lead in their mini-series that could be canceled by Tuesday night. I could feel this is Jordan blaming his teammates for 1987 versus the Celtics. I could feel them staying around a little more. This is what Jordan is saying. You know, LeBron's always blaming his teammates. That automatically works in Boston's favor. All they do then is double team me, make me give up the shot to a guy who might not take it. At spots in the game, We hurt Boston with our other players, but in the last 4 minutes, the Celtics had their starting five on the floor, playing defense in the trenches, rotating their double team to perfection, using their experience to rattle Chicago's youngsters. 10 straight playoff games. Every time the teams have met in the postseason, the Bulls have lost to the Celtics. 3 straight fourth quarters. Jordan can quote verbatim, "This basket, that turnover, this misdirected drive," in which the Bulls were either tied or led, only to lose again. Okay. Jordan, who was 0 for 6 from the field in the final period, we did the job on ourselves. Our lack of experience just folded up ourselves, and it really killed us. And what's the point of all this? What's the point that I'm making? Give me 1 minute. I need to look for something right quick. If I could find it. So I just showed all the context, but before the 87 series, Mikal said their plan was to let Jordan play, and they shouldn't play him that way. I already showed that. When they double teamed him, they saw more success. In his 1987 matchup versus the Celtics, the Bulls had the lead in the fourth quarter of all 3 games. They were winnable. Mikal and Walton were both out for Game 3. In Game 1, down 2, Jordan stood like Stonehenge and passed the ball to a teammate who was out of bounds and lost the game. In Game 2, he scored 42 points on 29 shots, but scored 0 points in the last 4 minutes as Boston went on a 10-4 run. He shot the ball 3 times and scored 0 points. Jordan then went on to blame his teammates for standing around, which I just showed that. I could feel them standing around a little more. In Game 3, Bulls had a 77-70 lead in the fourth. Boston went on a 16-4 run and won as Jordan went 0 for 6 in the fourth quarter. He called it a crumble himself. If I could find that again. Yeah, Jordan can quote verbatim, "This basket, that turnover, this misdirected drive," in which the Bulls were either tied or led. He called it a crumble himself. Second year in a row at home in an elimination game. This is supposed to be the GOAT, right? And Jordan fans claim he could never beat Boston, but he had a missed shot to win in overtime, a turnover in the last possession, 0 points in the last 4 minutes of a close game, and they led in the fourth. And 0-6 in a close game, and a blown 7-point lead in the fourth quarter. 4 out of 6 games, 3 games in a row. To summarize, he lost 4 games tied or ahead in the fourth, but gets no blame. He played into the Celtics' strategy and gets no blame. He vanished in the clutch at the end of elimination games and gets no blame. He was also 7 for 18 in the second half of Game 1 in 1986. Boston didn't care to play defense, and they knew Jordan alone couldn't beat them, in their own words, which I just showed. He missed a wide-open shot at the end of Game 2 during his 63-point performance. The guys he guarded shot 12 of 19, and he allowed Danny Ainge to tie the game with a layup during the first overtime. And in Game 3, he scored 5 points over the last 3 quarters. In other words, he quit. The first 2 games in 1986, the Celtics game plan was to let Jordan shoot. In Game 3, they changed their defense and held him to 19 points on 18 shots. Let's show that again. Another note, this unbeatable Celtics team that swept Jordan at age 23, and he gets a pass for it. Hakeem Olajuwon, at the same age, 23, and same draft class, got 2 games. Okay. So, one. And then he shot 41% in 1987 for the series versus the Celtics, and 30% from the field in Game 3. Now, what is my point in all this? My point is, and has always been, that unlike with Chris Broussard said, right? You know, Jordan didn't always ball out, even in the series he lost. And even if he did, he doesn't give LeBron that same pass because LeBron lost 6 finals and he don't give him a pass for losing 6 finals. And he's always pulling out 2011. So we can do the same with Jordan. So I'm going to just recap a little bit. He said he always showed up. Held the Bulls started 13 shots a day later in Game 4, and then last Wednesday in Game 5 to a preposterously low 8. In a 30-minute and 52-second span ranging from late in the first quarter to midway through the fourth, Jordan scored 3 points. 1, 2, 3. How far removed was he? From late in the first to midway through the fourth, he scored 3 points. He went scoreless in a span of 20 minutes during the second and third periods. The commentator said he was almost in a sleepwalk. Michael certainly could have been worn out from shooting in the fourth quarter. He took 1 shot when the Bulls were still in the game down the stretch when a 3-2 series edge was there for the taking. Michael Jordan took 1 shot. 1 stinking shot. It was foolhardy enough to envision the Bulls getting Jordan any less than the 15 shots he took in Game 4. But 4 for 8 from the field with 1 shot in the fourth quarter, something is up. He did not plead fatigue, but he did not have to. You could see it in his eyes, in his shots, in his eyes. And on wobbly legs and fatigued arms, he claimed both free throws harmlessly off the rim, which I showed earlier. The point is, what? Jordan was not this perfect player that he's been made out to be. All his flaws and all of his, everything. It's just overlooked. It's looked at as, it never happened. It couldn't have happened. Chris Broussard lied and said, every time he lost, he showed up and all these different things. But the point isn't whether Jordan is perfect or not. The point is we could nitpick at LeBron and what he didn't do in his moments, but all of a sudden we can't do the same for Jordan. It's always a thing comparing negatives to positives. Comparing LeBron's negatives to Jordan's positives and then saying, well, that's why Jordan's the GOAT, because he never did what LeBron did in this series where he shot a certain percentage or where he missed a free throw or missed a clutch shot, which Jordan's missed plenty and he didn't always play perfect. Yeah, neither did LeBron. But he gets a pass while nobody else does. So that's it for the video.